Good afternoon. It is 4:02 p.m. and this is the 4 p.m. 411 on WLCN 96.3 FM, where we will talk about, it's our third week going, so we're going to talk about different items of interest to the community. And certainly I can't think of a more interesting character or topic or all of the above than our guest today, the Mayor of Lincoln, Tracy Welch. Tracy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Loyd.
Sure thing. So if you have questions of the mayor, feel free to give us a call, 217-648-5510. You can also send an email to 4pm411@wlcnonline.com. But let's get into it. We talked about a few different topics. Well, let me actually step back from that a little bit. How are things going for you as the mayor?
Going really well. As most people know, I was an alderman for Ward 1 for a number of years before I ran for mayor and was elected. I was also the acting mayor for a little while, so already had my feet wet when I was officially sworn in as mayor, but you know, we take every day as it comes at us and we just deal with what we have to, but going really good, really good.
Awesome. So we talked about some potential things that we'll discuss here during the next half hour, and again, if you want to join the conversation, 217-648-5510. Some of the more recent topics that have been in the headlines. You can drive around the city in golf carts now.
Yep.
For the most part.
That is true.
With some exceptions, I guess, certain streets. But how has that progressed? Has there been any feedback? Has there been any issues that maybe you didn't anticipate, or are things going smoothly?
Believe it or not, things seem to be going smoothly. I have not received any feedback regarding golf carts from a negative standpoint. I see them out there in the street just like other people do. But overall, I think it's going really well. People understand that there's some restrictions. Essentially, golf carts and UTVs have to have the same safety equipment on them that vehicles do. You have to be licensed, insured to protect other drivers on the road. So I think it's going well. I think we're hovering a little bit below 20 individuals that have come and got permits, and I've got more to sign at City Hall today, so yeah.
Okay, so it's
going
doing
well.
business. All right,
Yep.
Very good. Speaking of permits, and I apologize, I'm going to kind of jump around here as things pop into
Not a
my
problem.
mind. We didn't discuss this one, but I've seen you address it on Facebook on the issue of permits. I know that summer is here, and a lot of people are going around soliciting for various businesses, and I won't specify any particular types, but I know people have talked about door-to-door salespeople coming to their door and trying to sell them on a product or whatever. I know that's something you deal with as the mayor. Can you kind of give us any guidance or feedback or tips about that?
Sure.
We've actually got a phone call, so I'm going to answer the phone as you answer.
Okay, yeah, sure. So individuals that come into the city of Lincoln and they wish to go door to door are required by ordinance to have a solicitor's permit. And the solicitor's permit really is a way of saying, hey, we're here in the community, we're going to go door to door, and we're going to speak to the members of the community. And so if someone shows up at your door and they are selling anything, you have the right to ask them if they have a solicitor's permit.
Okay.
And if they don't, they can go to City Hall and they can speak with the clerk's office about that, get the right permit, just to make sure that we know the people that are in the community at the time and what they're doing.
Okay. And that process, I'm assuming, is not, if you want to go ahead and put on the lovely headphones,
Yep.
That process as far as getting a permit is not, I wouldn't think it's particularly complicated. It's a matter of filling out some paperwork and perhaps paying a fee, and you're on your way. If you're the solicitor.
It's a very simple and quick process. You go to the clerk's office, there's a one-page application you fill out. They will ask you for a copy of your driver's license and background check to make sure that the people that are in the community and doing door-to-door work are safe for the community.
Okay.
But those that have done that, they're familiar with the process.
Okay, very good. Well, we have our first caller, so assuming I can master the technology. Caller, are you there? Do you have a question for the mayor?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yes, I would like to know that if we have to pay the $100 for the golf cart fees, when or will they ever put a stop to these people riding their lawnmowers and gas-powered bicycles all over town?
Well, the unfortunate part is that with the bikes that have been retrofitted with gas engines, that is something that I looked into a couple of years ago because I too felt that they could create a situation where someone could get hurt on those. The unfortunate part is, as long as they're under a certain number of cc's, that they are allowed by state law to operate within the city limits.
Okay,
So-
so if we was to have, just say a golf cart of that amount of cc's, then we'd have the same right?
The golf carts have to obey, they have to go by the posted speed limits on the roads, just like all vehicles do. So regardless of cc's, you have to stay under the speed limit.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
All right,
You're
thanks
welcome.
for calling in.
So once again, if you have a question, 217-648-5510. We are speaking with Mayor of Lincoln, Tracy Welch. As I mentioned, we're going to kind of jump around to different topics. As I mentioned to you, I was in the back seat of our car on our way back from Philadelphia last night, and I happened onto the Lincoln Daily News site, and I saw the article by Nyla Smith in regard to the Lincoln aldermen talking about uses of the Hotel Motel Tax revenues and how that relates to the Logan County Tourism Bureau.
Right.
Can you, I don't know if you can shortly kind of summarize it, but can you kind of tell us what the issues are there and what is under discussion, what's being decided?
Sure. I will sum up a number of hours if I can quickly here. It started, we had a couple of organizations that came to the city council. It's been several weeks back, and they were asking for funding for their events. And the council spoke to those individuals, and ultimately the council decided to take no action as
Okay.
far as providing funding to both of those organizations. But what that did was it caused us to take a look at the line items in our budget for what's called the Hotel Motel Tax.
Okay,
And for those who don't know that, the Hotel Motel Tax is tax money that is generated by people that stay at hotels and motels in the city of Lincoln.
okay,
It is not generated by local residents, it's all tourists.
right,
So the money by law it belongs to the municipality where the money is generated.
okay,
So the city of Lincoln has the responsibility of oversight of this money.
right,
So we, a number of years ago, worked with the Tourism Bureau, and more or less we have an annual agreement that they operate our tourism program for us, and they do a phenomenal job.
absolutely.
They do. But what happened at the council was there is a sentiment among some of the aldermen that we should get out of the business of having events or people like that come to us and ask us for money, and tourism would be better positioned
Okay.
to field those requests, provide funding if they felt it played into tourism.
Okay,
So that's what the discussion is about, is we've got control of the money. The city keeps 5% every year, 95% goes down to tourism.
Okay.
And I think some of the aldermen would like to see all of the event requests go down to tourism. So we're working through what that means to our budget.
okay. And I noticed in the article again, if you haven't checked it out, it's on Lincoln Daily News. Nyla Smith, I believe it's July 1st is the date on it. Lincoln aldermen debate the use of the motel tax revenues. One of the items of discussion I saw in there were some discussions about the particular percentages as far as which percent would stay with the city, which percent would go to the Tourism Bureau, how that might impact the Tourism Bureau and its ability to do the things it does in publicizing events. Is there any other, and maybe this isn't in your jurisdiction, but you seem as likely a person to know as any, is there any other office in the city or any other department that kind of gets funded that way, where money goes into a pot and then depending on what's there, they get X percentage of that?
I'm not familiar, I'm sure there are.
Okay.
I'm just not familiar with what those are. And the reason we do it is because we have things like Third Fridays, the brand new pavilion in Postville Park.
Okay.
Those type of things play a role into tourism. And those are city sanctioned activities and events. And we want to be able to make some of those decisions on our own
Okay.
without having to go down to tourism and ask for some of the money back that we've provided.
Right.
So we've worked through this over a number of years. It used to be, I think, 85% they got, and we kept 15.
Okay.
We figured out that the 5% is a nice balance. It works out well for both parties. Some of the concern in the recent discussions was should it go back to a shift of percentages?
Right.
Should the city keep 30% was one of the requests from an alderman, which sparked some conversation
Sure.
amongst some of the aldermen. It's a very heated topic.
Right.
There are people that are very passionate about it on both sides, and I have no doubt in the end we'll come to a common ground on that. We're figuring out what that common ground is.
Sure. And I saw one of the topics that seemed to be some of the folks, some of the aldermen wanted to use the funds toward was maintenance of city parks. And this is another side question, but I know Lincoln Park District does some, I don't know, they have some level of involvement with the city parks. Are they at all, do they have a seat at the table in this, or how would changing, would there be any more responsibility on the part of the park district, for example, if perhaps that funding isn't allocated for the city to upkeep or improve the parks?
Yeah, so the tourism topic, I don't think that percentage will impact the park district in any way.
Okay.
They're their own taxing body as well. If you look on your tax
Okay.
bill, they get a percentage of your property taxes, just like we do. They have a couple parks that they're responsible for, and the city has a number of parks that we're responsible for. If
Right.
you want to know which ones those are, you can go to the park district page. They will outline what those are. The sentiment, I guess it's come up before, is that the city doesn't do a good job of taking care of its parks.
Okay.
And past discussions with the park district have really kind of bubbled up the topic again and made us realize that we do need to start taking care of our parks.
Okay.
And I can tell you I have no details to share with you at this moment, but I can tell you that we are working on a plan to start planning for this in the future and start with a park as soon as possible.
So sort of go to one park and take a look at it and see what it needs, and then kind of move on, maybe a different one each year, for example, or sort of a preventive maintenance kind of thing where you upgrade things and try and maintain it rather than have a big expense of uprooting everything, I guess.
Yeah, and the council still has to talk about it, but the idea is that we will plan for the next X number of years, whether that be 4 or 5, whatever that is, and each year we'll focus on one specific park and get it upgraded. Some parks are going to cost more or less than others.
Sure.
It just depends on what they've got there and what they need. But we've got a group of people looking at that right now, and I think from what I've seen, it's a really good plan.
Okay.
And I hope that the council embraces it and moves forward with it.
All right, very good. Our guest is Tracy Welch, the mayor of Lincoln. If you'd like to call in with a question or a comment, 217-648-5510 is the number to call. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back with the mayor right after this. And we are back at the WLCN studios, the 4 p.m. 411. Our guest today is Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch. We've been talking about a variety of topics. Just to kind of finish up, or maybe not finish up, maybe this is another can of worms, but we were talking about funding in regard to the Logan County Tourism Bureau, and we talked about different ways the city would utilize those funds. It is also the Logan County Tourism Bureau, so I'm assuming that probably kind of adds another layer of complication or another layer of consideration as far as the city using the money and the county, it being a county tourism bureau and all the other towns in Logan County.
Yeah, it is. It is a county tourism bureau, and the bureau is a status that they have from the state of Illinois that designates them as a tourism bureau. It's been active for a very long time, and we fought through a lot of ups and downs to keep that going. Lincoln being the county seat and having every hotel motel except for Atlanta,
Right.
and some Airbnbs sprinkled throughout the county, we provide the lion's share of that money. And a long time ago, we just felt that the bureau was the best place to put that money. And so, the girls down there at tourism, they do a wonderful job. Past staffs have done a wonderful job. And so we'd like to see that continue. I know there was some people that might have been a little concerned when our conversation last week got a little bit heated, but rest assured that the Bureau is where we know the success of tourism is in the community, and we'll still partner with them. It's just where we land in our budget is what needs to be determined.
And speaking of successes, in our pre-show discussion, you mentioned the Economic Development Grant Program is going well.
Yeah, the Economic Development Grant Program is one that we started with the intention of helping property owners, commercial property owners, do some much needed repairs to their buildings. We're a historic community. We have a lot of buildings throughout the community, and especially downtown, that are old and they're in need of repair and some TLC, quite honestly.
Sure.
And so the program was set up to allow these property owners to come to the city, request funding, and if they meet the requirements and they're approved, then each property owner can get up to $7,500 for 3 years in a row per property.
Oh, wow.
Now, a lot of people have said, well, $7,500 is not a lot, and I always say, tell that to someone putting a kid through college.
Yeah, exactly.
And, especially with roof repairs, those are very expensive, and anything you can do to help offset is great. I can tell you that we have replenished the funds in that program a couple times, and we likely will be doing it a third time here soon.
Okay.
It's just been that successful.
Oh, wow. Very good. So, gosh, that springboards into so many topics we've been talking about with the economic success. We actually missed our first break, so let me go ahead and take another break now, and we'll come back. Maybe we'll do a little rapid fire, throw some topics at you.
Yeah, do it.
All right, very good. Our guest today is Tracy Welch, Mayor of Lincoln. 217-648-5510 is the number to call if you have questions or comments, and we will be back with a smattering of topics right after this. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411. Our guest today is Tracy Welch, Mayor of Lincoln. Going to throw some rapid fire topics at you because we had a whole bunch and we've only got a few minutes left. So we were talking just now about economic development. Let's hit some of the topics that are related to that. Any updates that you can provide us in terms of either of the colleges with their recent restructuring as far as Lincoln Christian University restructuring or Lincoln College closing? Any potential uses for those properties?
Yeah, I have no personal insight in on those. Very little dialogue with the city between those entities except for where needed. I know that there's a number of people looking in with some good ideas. One of the things that I was excited about was that the Heritage Museum over at the college, there's a plan to preserve that. So,
Oh, okay, great.
The rest of it, I guess we'll all learn together.
Okay, very good. Also on the topic of economic development, and a lot of my sources, if you want to call them that, for these are just things I've seen on Facebook. Domino's was supposed to be moving. Are there any updates in regard to Domino's Pizza?
Yeah, if you drive by, you'll see that they're making good progress. They've already pulled permits with the city on that one, so look forward to Domino's continuing to progress. Tremont Bank, everybody can see Tremont Bank's coming along pretty well.
Right.
The two in question is the Burger King and the Taco Bell. They both ran in, they were planning to come in before COVID.
Right.
COVID forced them to take a step back and look at design and things like that. And then materials costs went up. If I'm being an optimist in the things that I'm seeing and hearing, we'll see Burger King take off before Taco Bell.
Okay.
But the plan is for both of them to come still.
All right, very good. But no, like tentative dates or anything. At this point, we're still
Nothing
too early
that
in
I
the
can
process.
share.
Okay.
No.
All right, very good. Seeing lots of road repairs going on around the city. Can you talk to us about that? I know.
Yeah,
some people have
that's-
concerns there.
That's a big one, but we'll condense it. It is the time of the year where we look at how much money we're spending on roads and the targets that we plan to address with those. So we've already talked about them in the past couple weeks, and you'll see that happening. Also, as the weather gets better, you start to see some potholes in roads form, especially with the heat that we've got. You're going to see some road situations come up, but we're just tackling those as they come up. And glad to say that the council this year in the budget doubled the budget almost
Oh, wow.
for roads, and so we went from $500,000 almost $1 million a year in roads.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully we'll start to see a quicker progress, but it's still going to be slow.
And so if individuals out there do have particular concerns as far as their particular street or an alleyway or something like that, how would they get that onto the radar of the city?
If they would like, they can contact myself, their alderman. Walt Landers ultimately puts all that together for us. And you bring up another good topic is that alleys. I mean, alleys have been neglected for a long time. They usually only get attention whenever there's a pothole. And so
Right.
the council has made a point to work with Walt to focus on alleys moving forward.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a positive,
And
huge win.
So how do you tackle something like that? Do you just kind of look at one area at a time and move from area to area, or do you look at all the streets and sort of grade them about this is the most severe and needs the help, and then this one over
Yeah,
here?
we have a program called Paver, and we bought it a few years ago, and every road in the city is looked at. It's given a score based on the materials, its condition, things of that nature. And then every year when Walt goes to generate the targets, he works off of that. But the council also challenged him to spread the love, I guess you could say. We have 4 wards, and
Okay.
we'd like to see all 4 wards get some attention, some of those road dollars. And so he does a very good job of splitting that up among those wards, and I hope we continue to do that.
Okay. We're talking a little bit generally just about crimes and seeing things about different thefts and crimes just around town and around the area. I know you probably can't speak to specifics in terms of particular situations or cases, but can you share any insights as far as things people should maybe look out for, things they can do to minimize the chance that they will be a victim?
Yeah, we have seen some arrests locally due to burglary and theft. And what I would say is be aware of your surroundings. If you see people in your neighborhoods that you think shouldn't be there, there's nothing wrong with calling dispatch on the non-emergency number 7322151. have an officer do a patrol. If they have the manpower, they'll do it. But I would also say be proactive. Cameras are a very big deterrent, and they're rather inexpensive these days. So cameras, floodlights, but the biggest one is secure your stuff of value, lock your doors, because based on what I've seen, the first thing is the jiggle of a door handle on a garage or a car. It's where it starts. And if you've left yourself susceptible to that, chances are you've let those burglars in, and they're going to take what they can in as much time as they have.
Okay. Our time's winding down here, so a couple minutes left. Let's end on a positive note. Third Fridays have been very successful, and we've got another one on the horizon here. Can you talk to us about how those have gone from your perspective?
Yeah, Third Fridays, they grow every year. I mean, we've been doing this for several years now, and it just seems they get better and better. This past month, we worked with the downtown businesses. They had this idea of Nashville Nights, and Nashville Nights was just a huge success. Right. We know that there was hundreds, if not well over 1,000 people that attended that event. Might be the biggest one so far. Next month is a Hawaiian-themed month.
You just took my last question. I was going to ask if you have your grass skirt ready.
Yeah, I do not. But,
I don't have the legs for it. So.
Yeah, well, I'll agree with you there. But
you've never
yeah.
seen my legs, but go ahead.
So yeah, that they're all themed, and they're working very hard. The Third Friday committee is. Last thing I'll say on that is a bunch of very hardworking people that do it for nothing, but the joy of making people happy. So if you see somebody at Third Fridays with the blue shirts on, just stop them and thank them.
Okay, very good. Our guest has been Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch. Next week, we will be talking with Lincoln Community High School Superintendent Dwight Strickland at 4 p.m. next Tuesday. Same place. You can view us on YouTube. You can listen on the Mixler app, and of course, listen at 96.3 FM. Thanks for joining us, Tracy. Any parting words of wisdom or anything we didn't cover you wanted to get in?
No, just thanks for having me, and we'll pick up next time where we left off.
Yeah, so I don't have it in writing, but he has verbally committed to doing this maybe once a month, the first Tuesday of the month. So if there are questions you had and we didn't get to them this time, first Tuesday of next month, he will be back. So we will try and get to those then. So thanks again, Tracy, for being with us. And this has been the 4 p.m. 411. The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.